Pax Armata, which means armed peace, is or was a PMC group founded in the 2020s by Alexander Kincaid and his backers, the CIA. The point of this PMC was to attract fighters from all over the world, especially America's enemies. The CIA wanted to control their enemies and keep them under the same umbrella, but of course they lost control. Typical shadow spook thing to do. Some countries in NATO began to leave and put their funding and support behind Pax Armata, making them even more powerful. In the game campaign, it is mentioned that the powerful people might be funding Pax Armata. While we know the CIA did, we don't know who else is throwing their money behind them. This group went from a company to a major faction against the United States and other powers. Instead of having contractors, they now have straight-up soldiers and mercenaries. Here is a map of known nations that support Pax Armata. You got Congo, Turkmenistan, France, Spain, and a few others. There's also individuals around the world that join them, such as Egyptians, British, Americans, and others. Within Pax Armata, they have several units or specialized forces. Fire Team Vedmak is made up of members from the Balkans and is used as a special force. Espada Patrol is a naval infantry or marine unit that has a lot of members from the UK, Congo, and Spain. They can conduct both amphibious and expeditionary warfare. Kanhuhana is a unit that specializes in parachuting operations. Most of their members are from North Africa. I'm sure there's more units, but there isn't much information about Pax Armata that has not been revealed yet. Pax Armata has been given tons of weapons and equipment to fight its wars. Their gear is very diverse, coming from all over the world. There are too many weapons to cover, but their armaments consist of modern weapons that we see on the battlefield today, like AKs, M4s, 240s, the new M7, and the M250. It seems their infantry are heavily armored too, with cuts of fast helmets, plate carriers, shoulder protection, knee pads, goggles, and some other juggernaut-type suits. They have snipers, shotgunners, squads of regular infantry, and specialized types of units. Same as weapons and equipment, they use all types of vehicles that they can get their hands on. Some of these vehicles include the Dutch Vector for a light attack vehicle, the Swedish STRF-09 Alpha 4 troop attack vehicle, the American UH-79 helicopter, and the Russian Su-57 fighter jet. There's a lot of US MTVs and LMTVs, but surprisingly no American Humvees, which are still around and used in the 2020s, even though they're old and slow. And of course, they got tanks like Abrams and the LEO Alpha 4. Some, they have SAM missiles too, and they have C-Rams. Not much is known about their leadership structure or who their generals are, but Alexander Kincaid was one of their founders and top leaders. He was a former British SAS operator that was left to die near Syria on a mission. Because of this, he turned bad. The CIA used his hatred to form Pax Armata, and he's the main antagonist in Battlefield 6. But, spoiler alert, he dies at the end of the game, so who would lead the PA now is unknown. We do know that the CIA helped create Pax Armata, funded them, and guided them until they decided to go independent. There would be CIA agents or even a top U.S. government official secretly leading forces. However, it seems unlikely at the time of the game when the CIA lost control. There are rumors that the U.S. president is secretly involved or that the former NATO nations have their generals leading them. Let's say that this PMC and later faction were real. Could it really happen? My short answer is no way. See, Pax Armata was formed in the early 2020s and within a short few years was fighting against a superpower like the USA and invading all over the place. It's just impossible. It takes years for foreigners and soldiers to come together and train and build a culture around their faction and units. ISIS got defeated within like 3 years by a coalition force. Pax Armata is being set up the same way and would also be defeated pretty quickly. But also, how does a PMC group get billions so quickly and secretly? Yes, the CIA has billions, but they don't have access to enough funds to build a massive, heavily armed private army, let alone transport American weapons, equipment, and vehicles to them without being found by security and intel personnel. Like someone will see a Abrams tank being shipped overseas and think to themselves, where is this going? Who is signing this paperwork? And is it legal? The news media would be all over it. That's why intel agencies like the CIA buy off weapons from the black market in third world countries to give small insurgent groups or rebel factions because it's hard to track. What's even harder to obtain is systems like the SAM missile systems and CRAMs. They're heavily regulated and watched. Pax Armata uses them a lot, which destroys American ships and aircraft in the Battle of Gibraltar. They killed many U.S. and British soldiers and Marines during the amphibious assault. I just don't see them as fighting like a conventional army, nor having a massive recruiting pool to replace their troops killed. Lastly, who in their right mind would get paid to fight against a large force like the USA or invade New York City knowing that they would get surrounded very quickly? No amount of money would make someone go on a suicide mission. PMCs and even mercenaries choose their causes and missions carefully. They make sure it's safe to make a profit and to return home to spend that profit. To be honest, this PMC force is kind of bland. They exist to just exist. They're not cool like the Atlas PMCs from COD Advanced Warfare. They seem to have no character or major interesting parts. Being unrealistic also takes the energy out of liking this group. I wish the team behind the game would put more effort into background of PA and invest in several characters instead of creating a generic group and leader like Kincaid. Then again, the Battlefield series isn't known for storytelling. Pax Armata could be so much more, but in the game, they are a force to be reckoned with. They can take land and kill many of their enemies. In real life, they would get steamrolled by drone strikes, SF, and by a coalition of nations. What other PMC groups from video games and movies should we look at? Tell us in the comments. I have nothing more for you, so stay safe, keep your head down, and remember, you are the real heroes.